Bon dia, hello, konnichiwa, ni hao, bonjour. How do you say it in Spanish?
Buenos dias. Buenos dias.
Why?
And do
Why?
you know how do I
Why?
know
Why?
that?
Why did you?
Because
How
that's
do you know
Spanish.
that?
You have to because I watch Money Heist. Em português, La Casa de Papel. Ah, no pasa nada,
La Casa de
Jeff. No
Papel.
pasa
É
nada.
muito bom,
Muy
muito, estou
bueno.
bom, estou muy bueno, muy bueno,
Have you ever watched
very
it?
good. 很好. I did. I'm up to date on that show. That's one of my
Nice.
favorite shows in the modern era.
That's a good one.
I don't like how that last season ended because they killed one of my favorite characters. But whatever, that's no spoilers here, right?
It's like the Game of
You know
Thrones
who I'm
Fury,
talking about.
right?
But you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, yeah,
Who
yeah,
they
of
killed.
course. But
Yeah, but
after
that's
Game of Thrones, I cannot watch a movie or a TV series and feel safe. Every time I feel like somebody's gonna die, they're gonna kill the major guy,
yeah,
they're gonna kill the major girl, and I get
true.
upset with Game of Thrones because they did this to me.
Yeah, they did that. We're all traumatized from Game of Thrones, but today we're not talking about that kind of trauma with
Thank
shows.
God.
We're gonna talk about something that causes trauma for everybody. It's called dating and relationships. Where's your soundboard, man? I actually kind of like your soundboard.
Oh, you want but I'm confused because for me, this is the reaction for like relationships. But for some people, maybe it's this one.
Mm.
For some
But that's
people,
those are for people in relationships,
yeah, maybe
right?
this
Those are
one
for people in
sometime.
relationships.
For single people. See? We have a lot.
All right. So, a little bit of premise on this. Uh, Most of you who are recurring audiences know I've been single for the last year or some change, and I've gone through a bit of an evolution because of that. Um, Shouts out to my channel if you want to see what the evolution is from a physical standpoint. But emotionally, we've been keeping in contact on this podcast about this, right? But obviously, a part of that evolution comes with content and viewing different types of content online, and that's kind of what you need to do during this era of everybody staying at home. So I took a step back around my birthday. I was like, look, there's no point of chasing relationships and chasing girls anymore because A, you're doing long distance most likely, and B, even if you go get out, you're not gonna be having the proper kind of interaction because of COVID, right? So instead of that, I decided to kind of work on myself. And when you're absorbing different types of information about say self improvement, YouTube tends to feed you more and more of what they think you are as a person.
They
So
know.
based on your they know based on your consumption behavior, you will get recommended new content. So I watch content about how to make relationships work, how to not make them work, how to improve yourself. And as you're watching this, and they realize, oh, he's a single male guy. Let's throw some other direction of content. I've jumped into a very weird community of content creators. They're known as the red pill men. Okay. So, for those of you guys who don't know what red pill and blue pill references, it references the movie The Matrix starring Keanu Reeves. And this is what kind of made Keanu Reeves really mainstream is a trilogy, and it's one of the most groundbreaking sci-fi show movies of all time. Would you
It's
agree,
not
Vinny?
Keanu.
It's pretty
Yeah,
groundbreaking.
100%. Like it bothers me that people was like, "Oh, Keanu Reeves from the movie John Wick," and like, "Oh boy, sit here.
No,
Let's
no,
have a
no,
talk."
no, no.
You have
The
no
man,
idea.
our man was our man was whoa Neo way before Mr. Anderson, way before the guy who can kill three people in a bar with just a pencil, right?
And before that, I
So
don't know if you remember Speed, right? With Sandra Bullock.
yes,
But that's not
oh
so
my
good
god,
as Matrix,
he's
but just yeah, it's worth
he's a great
mentioning.
actor. It just shows his chops. It shows his chops, and then
Yeah.
obviously whoa again before that with other less let's say less esteemed movies that he was a part of when he was younger. So red pill blue pill refers to a scene in the movie where if you take a red pill, you basically see what the reality is like. If you take the blue pill, you stay in the reality that you've subscribed to. And what red pill gentlemen refer to is they basically take the red pill and realize that they can live a life without women, and they do not need relationships in their life because the system is meant for their failure and women are undateable. That's kind of the premise of their logic. And they go
Okay.
through a series of different laws, different social constructs, different social events, historical events to kind of prove this and reassure themselves as a community that this is the right path. Now, I have nothing really against this. For I do agree with some of the points they made, but the reason I want to bring this to you today is I know you're a person who's happily in a relationship, and I want to kind of share these thoughts with you and just get your reaction, and we can kind of talk a little bit about this community. The way I view this is it is kind of a not a dangerous step, but it is kind of it shows where society as a whole is going. And as people become more free and liberal, and they have more time to themselves, this type of thought process could actually end our modern society as we know it. All
Yeah,
right, are you ready for this?
you're going too
Are you
far, but
ready?
okay. Yeah, yeah.
No, you'd be surprised at where this goes. All right, okay,
Okay.
all right. So, how much do you know about marriage laws in North America?
North America, I think it's like you can have only one, right? It's not like a polygamy, right? You
Yes,
cannot have like
that's
multiple
correct.
marriages.
Great start. Woo, Vinny.
Well,
You
right?
could only have one marriage. Excellent. All right, great. Well,
Yeah, you can
you can
have
have one marriage at a time. You have
yeah at a time. That's the point because you
one
can actually
partner.
have yeah you can marry someone else if you're not happy or you get a divorce.
Yeah, if you
But at a
divorce.
time, you have
Yeah,
to first get a divorce, then to get married again. And I think some
yeah,
places, like some
and
religions, are not doesn't even allow that, right? If you married on the church, you can
mhm.
only marry once, but you can marry on the civil, right? On the I don't know. I think
Oh my
that's
god, you're so innocent. You're so innocent in
really.
this framework. Oh my
Come on,
god.
I grew up
Oh,
in
really
a in like
educational.
a I studied my whole life in a Catholic school. I had like something called the space of the angel between a boy and a girl for the guardian angel.
Oh,
I'm not even joking. So
por
boys, yeah,
favor, por favor,
not that
por
much.
favor.
When you're like 13,
Vini,
14,
Vinizinho,
you're not a fan of that.
Vinizinho.
Trust me.
Oh, the space of
S-
oh, you can't
Space
even
for the
kiss before
guardian.
marriage. That first kiss
No,
is
it
the
was
kiss
not
you lock
allowed.
down the marriage.
It was not
Yeah,
allowed to
I know.
kiss in
That's why
the
I'm making
school.
these
Yeah,
stories.
not even holding hands.
That's
It's
why I'm making
insane.
these past I know what you're referring to. Okay, so this is so innocent.
So yeah, my
All right,
background is
I'm
just
gonna
like
break down.
this. That's the only thing I know.
So here's the background about it is actually kind of I do
I'm
agree
taking
with
the
the red
red
pill
pill
guys
now.
on this one. Okay, don't take the red pill because you're in a happy relationship, and that's the life we all kind of subscribe to. Is a happy relationship is the ultimate value,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah,
the
yeah.
red pill guys basically say get to there because of all these logic. Therefore, I'm giving up, or therefore, I'm pursuing my own happiness. So that's the
True.
premise: pursuing their own happiness. Divorce laws, child custody is one of the primary reasons they're doing this. So in North America, if you're basically a common law spouse or you're basically married to each other, your partner, if they do not have an income and you guys get married and there's no prenup, guess what happens? They get
After the
half.
married, they got half of everything. Yeah,
They get divorced, they get
yeah,
half. If you look at Jeff McKenzie, Bezos, one of the richest women in the history of the planet is because of a divorce, right?
yeah.
Now, this is the part that gets people more and more triggered, right? How many times have you seen it's just kind of socially accepted when the guy and woman divorces, the guy cheats on the woman and the woman walks away half. Everyone's like, yeah, you get it, queen, right? How
I
many times
guess.
has the woman cheated on the guy, a rich woman cheated on the guy, and there was social encouragement for the guy to take half?
I don't know. I don't
Doesn't
think
happen
get
very
that
often.
much media, right?
Have you did you hear about the situation with Adele?
Adele? No. Oh my god, she got divorced?
No, I think there's a separation going on where the husband's gonna get half of her fortune.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah. So, I
She
mean,
looked
that's this was
happy.
last year.
Yeah.
Right, she's happy for a while, but Make sure we got to fact check. Make sure it is Adele because this is this is the example a lot of them use. So it's still like we're in the evolution of our society where are you checking? You're checking right now.
Yeah.
Fact check that.
Yeah,
No?
on 2019, September, she filed for divorce.
Divorce. And the husband is got how much?
Oh, you want to know that? Okay.
Yeah.
Adele
About this.
husband, how much money? Her ex, $140 million.
Yeah.
140.
And guess what the social reaction to that is? Like you and I are pretty reasonable. We're like, yeah, it's kind of fair, right? If a guy gets ripped for half, a rich woman should she get ripped for half? Probably if the laws are that
Yeah,
way.
I can imagine being, yeah. I don't know how
People
social it would
lost
be
their
like.
minds. And people lost their minds. All
I
right,
can
and this
imagine,
is
yeah.
kind of a contribution to the red pill thinking and their justification of why this exists. So they think that the entire law is rigged against men. And further to prove this, they reference something called child custody laws, custody of the children. So I'm a person who really wants to be a dad. And this is the
Sure.
part where they actually got my attention. All right. When they mentioned this, I was like, oh God, we're doomed. We're doomed. If this is the case, no one wants to get married. So I'm a little out of focus. I'm just moving a bit to make sure I'm
It's
back in
okay, I got
focus.
it. You're back, you're back.
Uh, Back? No, I'm
Now,
busy
now
now.
you're
See?
gone. Yeah, now you're gone.
Oh my God. What
There,
is happening with this
no.
camera?
Now you're
No,
good.
no.
No,
There.
it's good, it's
Oh,
good.
yeah. Look at
Yeah,
that
there you
focus.
go. Yeah.
So crisp. Oh, all right. The child custody is like this.
Mm.
Child custody, North America, the majority of custody cases and divorce rates is over 60% for modern day marriages. Just
I
giving
can
you a heads up.
imagine, yeah.
Guess how many times the guy even gets fair custody compared to the woman?
Yeah, I think it's slow, but like there's a lot of factors in it, right?
Yes,
Because
but
I
let's
re
say
I
it's
really
a
take in consideration like couples that the guy doesn't even like was responsible ever. The guy just like
oh,
got
for
go
sure.
pregnant and left. So I can imagine it's like the majority.
Uh, I'm talking about in cases where it's a divorce.
Okay, okay. I don't know.
It's not a guy, not men running out. Of course, men running out, those guys deserve to
Yeah,
go
yeah.
to hell. I don't believe in that. But just a marriage where let's say the woman cheated, they
Mm-hmm.
get divorced, she gets to keep the kids. Majority of the cases end with the woman having majority of the custody.
Yeah, I
This
can
is a
imagine that.
statistic.
I can see that. Yeah.
And the cases where guys, and this is we got to make sure we fact check this eventually. But if I'm wrong about this, somebody please correct me. But I think the reference was 10% of cases where the guy is supposed to get custody and he gets it. Like the woman cheated and is a bad mom, and the guy was able to get the custody. In the cases where guy is bad and woman's good, and child goes with mom, that's like 90% of those situations.
Yeah, I can imagine.
That's so that's a huge disparity. So there's this argument that because of those social constructs, there's no benefits to getting married for a guy anymore. That's
Yeah.
the red pill thinking. Because
Sure.
without marriage, you can pursue your own happiness, right? You can adopt children if you really want to be a dad, or you can use some kind of like artificial way of producing kids, right? Like egg donor and then
Yeah.
in vitro fertilization for a surrogate, right? Which I actually kind of want to talk about that a little bit because that's something I've been considering myself. And then I know, right? That escalated really quickly. Holy,
We went
Vinny's
from
like,
like
what?
divorce to Daddy Jeff 2021.
Yeah, maybe. 2021 is a bit too soon. I was giving myself 5 years before I considered that,
Oh,
right?
okay, 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 okay.
So, because like I'm 30. I don't really need a
You're
kid right
good.
now, but I really
Yeah.
want one. I want one
Sure.
before I'm 35. That's the
That's the
rule
dotted
law I
line.
have,
Yeah. It's good to have
which
a
is why I'm
deadline. Yeah.
considering that. Yeah, I'm like
Mm-hmm.
deadline 35. If that doesn't happen, I'm exploring those options because there's nothing else. I want to be a
Yeah.
granddad and play with my grandkids, right? So that's like, and let's be honest, kids are gonna have kids later and later. Who's to say I'm gonna
True.
live like if I am I gonna live like to 85? I don't know. You never know what's
Of
gonna
course,
happen.
you
So
eat healthy.
I
You
know, right?
cook healthy food.
Yeah, but you
It's
never
all about
know, right? Like
diet. Oh yeah, you
it
can.
is all
There's
about
always
that.
an accident. Yeah. True.
But you wanna maximize your odds, and you don't want to be
Yeah. We
90 with
try.
a
Yeah.
don't be 90 trying to shoot a basketball with your grandchildren. Come on. At
You're gonna
80, I
raise your
can maybe
hand, you're
still
gonna break your arm. Yeah,
exactly. So yeah, the earlier I have it, the better. Some of my most fond memories. So now that we
true.
explained the red pill thinking for you, right? And what do you think about that thought process first?
I
And
understand.
do you
Okay.
do you sympathize with these guys at all, or do you think they're completely out of it?
I don't think I sympathize because I don't know like the cases. Of course, if there's like an extreme case, of course I have their back. But like for me, the point is like it's 2021, right? Marriage is not like how it was when like in our parents' days. Like I know that the rates you said 60, right? 60, right?
Divorce, yes.
Yeah,
That's on
so
divorce.
it's like so many people that got married are being getting divorced. So like for me, if you're getting married, worry about like oh who's gonna get the custody of their kids, don't get married. That's not the reason. Like oh I want to get married, but I'm afraid of this. Don't do it then. Because like I don't know, like thinking about custody and everything is something that happens. But if you're like already thinking about that when you're in a relationship with your girlfriend, boyfriend, like before getting married, that's like a red flag. So like if you're considering like having to share everything you have after you get married, don't get married. So I think that's
Yeah.
especially because nowadays it doesn't mean shit. Like to be honest, because why you want to get married? It's like a big party for like a lot of people that you probably don't are like not the biggest fans. It's a lot of money that you throw away in one night. It's a lot of food that you buy for people that is just gonna eat and leave. For like a dress is gonna be like a month salary for like a photographer that's gonna charge you a car.
It's
So
true. It's true.
it is
Photographers are very
true.
expensive.
I'm not saying
You
they
ever
don't
look
do
at
a
the
good
rates of wedding?
job. Yeah, you have to pay the value.
Come on.
Yeah, come on. Especially because I have friends. I have a friend here in Canada that he says that he's sorry for his wedding album because he cannot look at it because they paid like cheap and it's crap. So he tells me like
Oh,
every time we talk about marriage, he was like, dude, first thing you gotta spend money in is like in a good photographer because I am embarrassed of my marriage album. And can you imagine like having that
but
forever?
that you bring up a really crucial point here. You bring up an extremely crucial point that there's no point of marriage. You actually,
Yeah,
because of what you're saying, that
you can live
for a lot of
together
these
and
guys,
then it's
they're
over. Go away.
well, that's the crazy part is that you can either choose to basically you can choose to make those relationships, and which is why I kind of wanted to bring up this topic. But
Yeah,
where what's concerning to me is that this is leaning from don't make those choices into a new movement where
like
guys are no longer playing ball with anything that's pro female, and that can get dangerous.
yeah,
So we had a situation 2 weeks ago, well, a week ago, I guess. Sorry, a week ago,
yeah.
where the Capitol Hill of the United States was stormed by a lot of people who felt like their voices were not being heard, felt like they were misrepresented, felt like the
Hmm.
one guy that represented them is finally in office, right? This type of social construct where people are feeling like they're being mistreated and misguided and that they're now outcasts of the society tend to breed this type of behavior too.
Yeah, the extremes, right? We talked about last week, right? Getting like
It's
so
the
right, so left.
extreme,
So, yeah,
which is the reason why I want to talk about this is also not just partially event, but it's kind of like I'm walking through this logic with you because I almost caught myself a few weeks ago being like, I'm gonna red pill this. I'm
that's
taking
true.
the red pill. So
It's tempting,
here's
right?
the
It's
logic.
like it's a
It's very
temptation, right?
tempting. It's
Yeah,
very tempting. And but then I realized the societal consequences there are for things like red pill. But conversely, if you look at, let's say, the blue pill thinking
yeah,
of staying within society, the society is not giving a lot of room for men in the last few, and rightfully deserve so in many cases, like the Me Too movement. Those men
yeah.
don't really deserve too much room. They deserve the full extent of the law. But if you think about it, looping all men into like men are trash,
Hmm.
that type of thinking promotes the red pill thinking as well, right?
Yeah,
So you create a segregation. You're not building allies. What you're building is differentiation, segregation, and almost disdain for each other. If you have you ever seen a show called The Real or The View? Have
The
you ever
real.
seen either of those shows?
I heard
The
about
Real
it.
or The
Never.
View?
Yeah, I think I heard
So
it.
The View
I'm
and The
sure I
Real
heard it.
are both a full panel of women discussing social issues and issues that are relative from the female perspective, and they usually mix it with different races, different guests, and predominantly a lot of those topics they're talking about is very pro female, which is
Hmm.
great. We need more of that, right? Wonder Woman was one of the best things to ever happen on the big screen. Like there's this modern rendition of Wonder Woman. Even 1984, when people didn't really like it, I saw where they were going with it. They didn't execute it well. They didn't stick the landing. But the whole point is about creating a dialogue. That's the whole
Yeah,
point of that movie. And everybody didn't like it because there was no resolution of one side winning. And this comes to there's no one side winning. Men and women are going to coexist on this planet until we build robots to destroy ourselves. All right.
true.
That's my realization of stepping away from the red pill. But I'm just thinking, how can this steer away from becoming catastrophic? If you continue to, like I say, if once I continue to feel like they're pressed, they're going to continue to go deeper in their values. So the women are going to be more men are trash, men are trash. There's no good men to date. There's no good men to date. I'm going to just be single for the rest of my life. But then the men's side is like, oh, all women are just like over demanding. The system is unfair, right? Women have way too high standards. I don't want to marry like some random single mom who thinks she's like 10 out of 10, right? Which is another that's another topic we want that is the modern day dating. I want to stick with the social issue here and not go into how bad dating is. But if everyone has these thought processes and they're consuming content every day, they're eating content that's around this, and the algorithms on all these platforms are feeding them more and more and more of this content. Where does this really go?
I think the point is that, for example, I already thought about this. Like when I was younger, I was like, "Oh, men are trash," and I went like, "Yeah, but I'm a man. I'm not trash." But like after that, I think like knowledge is something that helps all of us. There's no bad side of like getting more knowledge. And what helped me was like I don't care if they think men are trash. If men hurt them, it's fine. And every time a guy goes like, not every man, not all guys, I go like, dude, if you're feeling hurt by what these people are saying, it's because you are part of that group. Because like if you say like men are trash, and for me nowadays, I understand it doesn't hurt me at all. Oh, but you're a guy, you are trash. Maybe for her, maybe she had like experienced something. Maybe she experienced something that like scarred her for her life, and I would never understand. But I don't feel hurt about that because I'm not part of that group. I understand when they say like men are trash, is not those, and I understand like the guys that are angry with like, oh, 90% of the cases women get like the custody of the children. I understand, but I know I'm not part of that because we can have like women and men that like hit children, like they abuse their, like they put them to work. We have cases like this. It's not like gender related. So I think like in the end, like going extreme is always bad. I understand people that go, oh, I think I understand. I want to be like the red pill guy because they're not gonna take everything from me. But I also understand like women that, oh, guys are trash because guys are trash, and like it's society. It's like it's how it's built. It doesn't hurt me, to be honest. Like I understand people that don't want to get in a relationship. I like marriage. I'm 100% against. Not 100%. Like I'm 90% against marriage. Like it was the way like 15, 20 years ago, because it's stupid. Like you don't have to get married. Like, oh,
Wait, but you're in a relationship that basically functions with the beautiful values of that
yeah,
marriage,
that's the
of
point. Yeah.
building a life together, of tackling the world's
Hmm.
challenges together, and sharing the world's beauty together. But you're not coming with all those frills, all those different like unneeded and almost
No.
sometimes entrapping limitations.
Yeah, like for example, I saw a tweet today. Someone was like, "Oh, if this girl, famous Brazilian actress, was cheated on, like I give up. Look at her; she's beautiful, she's perfect." And I goes like, the point's not being beautiful. Like if you're in a relationship because only because of how the person looks, It's wrong. You do this when you're like 15,
This
16.
is why I wanted to bring this topic to you. You have
Yeah.
wisdom that is untapped. Nobody knows about it. You see how beneficial this is? I explain to him the problem. I tell him the societal context. He doesn't even know about it. He doesn't even live it. And he gives really good insights. Because that was the next thing I was gonna bring up is that dating sometimes it's framed in the wrong way. Oh, I deserve this. I deserve this. No, what do you guys can do
Yeah.
together? What can you build? What do
Yeah.
you bring to the table? It's not what is given to you. Oh my god, that was how
I
did you
was not
even are
expecting.
you a wizard?
To be honest, I connected with the tweet thing because like I understand teenagers saying that. Oh, I'm going out with her because she's hot. I'm going out with him because he has like a six pack. I understand, but like if in a relationship, a long time relationship, because of how the person looks, they're gonna get old. They're gonna look bad, and I don't like. Oh, and if you think, oh, I'm not, I have to get married because I'm afraid of being cheated on. It's Do you think like getting married is gonna change that? It's not. So my point, like, I'm I'm not against marriage if you want to do it, but like how our parents did, like it doesn't make any sense nowadays. Because honestly, like you're not moving out when you're 21, you're
Oh.
not building your house when you're 25. Because like I have no idea when that's gonna happen for me. So
Good luck on building a house nowadays. Jeez. No,
yeah,
it's gonna be rent lifestyle for most people, you know, in Canada at least. I think if you ever want to own property, it's good to go to a different country, like the first world country or a different part of the country, right? Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal, all these
yeah,
really really prosperous cities. It's gonna be impossible to live there because of the way our financial structure works. But
yeah.
if you go like 3 hours north of where you are right now, you can get a
Mm-hmm.
house for like 150 still.
Easy. Yeah.
Like you can still,
Mm-hmm.
but if you want to be, but again, with this COVID lifestyle, you don't need to live in the city. I live in the city and it looks like a zombie town out there and everyone's losing their minds, which brings me to my next point about losing their minds.
Mm.
COVID, and I was tracing my steps of how I got to almost being red pilled. I was like, okay, I was doing detective work on myself. I'm like, this suspect, Jeff Fang, almost became something that he doesn't want to be because I'm a
How it
person who
started.
deeply believe in
How's it
love.
going?
I'm
Yeah.
a person who deeply believe in love, and I can't believe that I was considering that. This was like late last year, and I was this weird state where every day I was like working out, improving myself, reading books, and at the same time, simultaneously, I'm like, there's no hope, there's no hope, there's no hope. Like it's like a weird like training phase where you're like, well, you're just
Mm-hmm.
doing this to live out the days, but then you don't realize you step out of it. You're like, oh wow, I really
There's a lot.
evolved
Yeah.
during the
Yeah.
few months. That's also when I took a social media break. That's also when the red pill thinking started happening too. Um, so here's the segue here. COVID is making people kind of nuts, and I see that every day when I walk outside. Like everyone's either a little they forgot how to socialize because they're not going to work every day or they're
They're
not
always
interacting with people at large.
suspicious. Yeah, they're
They're
always
kind of
like walking
suspicious.
like
Yeah, because they don't want to get COVID, and also they don't want to get attacked, right? You heard about there was that random person who used a hammer and literally bludgeoned 5 people because he was just bored of COVID. That's literally what happened in Ontario. I don't know which city. I think it was Toronto actually. He just bludgeoned people, and then nobody died. I think people were seriously injured.
Did you hear about Calgary?
Because there's a half.
There was some people playing hockey, like shinny hockey. The policeman
Oh
used
shit!
the taser gun to
Just tase the motherfucker. Just went up and be like,
I'm sorry, I'm laughing, but
"That's what
it's
you
like a
get for
crazy
skating."
story.
Oh
You wanna
my
play hockey,
god!
bitch? Zzz. Yeah, it's Calgary,
Oh my
Calgary.
gosh!
It's crazy.
Okay. Oh no, this is because they were breaking the protocol. Okay, okay, okay.
Probably, but like, come
Escalated.
on.
The tasing is a little excessive. Although you gotta say people give a lot of attitude nowadays, right? And this
Yeah, I can
attitude
imagine him.
is where I'm trying to draw this. Like everyone is like, don't tell me what to do. I can do whatever I want, but there's social responsibility, right?
Hmm.
Like if someone in the video game is calls me a name and tells me don't do something, I can tell them to fuck off. But if like there's a
Real life is
law
not.
and
Yeah,
for
yeah,
the
yeah.
that's not the same case, right? And like,
Hmm.
our new generation can't draw that conclusion. So imagine someone who's 16 or 18 that jumps into this rabbit hole because he got rejected by a girl from school, but he hasn't had a girlfriend yet.
Yeah.
And they started this ideology that women are trash, The system is rigged against you. If you get with a girl, she's going to leave you, take half your money, and you're never going to see your kids. That's concerning to me. And I don't know what is the solution, what it is. I think that there just needs to be more positive content for this. What do you think the solution is for that younger generation?
Yeah, I think like this, like it's super easy to be exposed. Like what I have a cousin that she has like I think her daughter is like 9 or 8, and she has her own iPad. She has everything's like YouTube Kids, YouTube this, but like
Hmm.
we know it's super easy to put something that is not YouTube Kids related. Like it's gonna get removed sometime, but you can put it. But like she's so like by herself and like understands like how to do and how to access information. And come on, like I remember when I found out about like the incognito mode. Like
Oh, jeez.
I explored a lot. So it's like I know that some, and I think it's like, and I was 16. I was like 15.
Mm.
I think like for example children, they're getting like even like they're having like easy information like in
This,
front of them.
this doesn't apply to this doesn't apply to the kids, but for teenagers for sure, like 15 to
Yeah,
16 and onwards, those young men for sure can get exposed to this type of content,
and
right? And
I
I'm not
was an
saying this type of
idiot when
content
I was 16.
to
Yeah,
be removed. It has to be there. This type of content has to be there because there are men that needs to be aware of this. There are simps that are literally being taken advantage of. There's people who are being taken advantage of, and they don't know this. There's bad men, there's bad women,
yeah.
right? And there's people who are taking advantage of the situation. So this type of information is good, but it's about if you can't make that judgment, you're 15, you're not going to be making a judgment. So then
Hmm.
what? How do we protect? I mean, I don't even know if they need protection, but how do we direct them to the right direction?
Yeah, I think like parenting's like my parents were like always present, like something that I cannot complain about. It was always there, like asking questions, talking, because it's so easy to have information nowadays. So I understand how people get like sidetracked. Because I don't know, like when I found out about PewDiePie, I rushed his videos like in probably 4 weeks, 1 week. It was like I was just watching that, and I found games. Can you imagine like when people find something else? So and when you're 16, you are an idiot, like you have like sexist
Yes,
thoughts, you have like
100%.
stupid thoughts. Yeah.
100%. You are
And
100% an idiot when you're
and it's
16.
not bad. Like my point is not, oh, you were saying
Hey, if you're
that 16.
16 and you're listening to this,
It's
hold on. If you're 16
you
and
are
you're
an
listening
idiot.
to this, if you're 16, you're a fucking idiot. All right? Take that. All right? Take that to the
And it's
bank,
not bad.
deposit
It's
it.
not wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing. You're supposed to be an idiot. But when you're 25, you might still be an idiot. All the way to your 30, I'm still a fucking idiot. But it's about being better than the idiot you were yesterday. That's what it is about.
Always.
All right.
Yeah.
So, but I wanted to call the 16-year-olds watching this an idiot. I just wanted to take a moment to do
You
that.
know a good
Continue. Sorry for
example
moving to the
that
topic.
I always take into consideration when people talk about this, like Neymar, the Brazilian football player, because people call him like
Yes.
Menino Ney, like
Nino
boy
Nick.
Ney. Like he was 20 fucking 2. That's not time to being like a six. Like I know it's different, like it's a different scenario. Like most kids when they are like 16, 22, they don't do the same things as Neymar did, but like it's not a kid. Like the time for being needed and do stupid things is when you are young. After that, you get like knowledge and development, and then that's the point. Like some information. I don't, like I told last week. I'm totally against like, oh, freedom of speech. No, you cannot say what you want. No, you, because if you say something that hurts someone, that's not good. Like you shouldn't say that.
Oh, hold on. Total freedom of speech. You can say it, but there's consequences.
Yeah,
That's the
true.
way I
Yeah,
look at it.
yeah. Like legally, you
Yeah,
can
yeah.
say,
Yeah.
but be
You
ready
should
to face. Yeah,
legally you should be allowed to say it. There's not speech without consequence. There's consequence for all types of speech. If you have consequences because of the
yeah.
speech, it's not the same as you didn't have the right to say it. Right? Everyone should have the
True.
right
Yeah,
to
yeah,
say
yeah. The
whatever they want.
right is it's there,
But
but like
doesn't
Twitter
mean you're
help.
gonna get your ass kicked. If you say the N word to a bunch of brothers, you're gonna get jumped.
Yeah.
If you're a pasty white guy, I'm sorry, that's gonna happen. If you commit a hate crime, you're gonna go to jail, right? Like that's just gonna happen. But again, there's no speech without consequence.
Hmm. Yeah,
It's
that's my point
consequences.
in social media like nowadays, because people say like, oh, it was just a tweet. Like I don't care. Like if you're like brave enough or like man enough or like smart
Wait,
enough to
what
post
about
that.
just a tweet? What
Because like
happened?
social media, we
Who
had
did
like
what?
the like a couple of weeks ago, we have like the exposed trends in Brazil. Like a lot of girls are like having like the guts to say a lot of things that people like expose, people like the, I don't know, like guys like from the League of Legends community, they would like abuse them. So one girl started and then goes like a crazy like train. when a lot of people, a lot of guys, like a lot of properties were like disconnected from their teams, like fired. So it's like I understand that. Oh, and then people were like, "Oh, but it was just a tweet. He just sent a picture." Like, be ready to face the consequence. So it's like that's
There's
the point.
consequences.
There's not like it's not freedom, freedom.
You're held to a higher
Yeah,
standard. If you get vibes that the person is not interested, don't press on. That's one thing guys should not do. You
yeah,
can't press on. And girls, if you're interested in a guy and he doesn't press on, it's just because he probably feels like, he's harassing you if he's a good guy. So it's just better communication on that part. But you
yeah.
can't, like, as a guy, just going back to the guy specifically, like, because we're both guys, we can say this. If you feel like you're being a creep or you feel like you're pressing too hard, just stop it. Just try and stop yourself as early as possible.
And I
Right?
grew up
Like,
like in a scenario that people were like school parties, like friends parties. Oh, you wanna dance with me? The girl say no. I just went back to my friends, and then it goes like, oh, what happened? I'm like, oh, she said no. And then my friends, like I had friends back in the days that were like, so what? Try again. I'm like, dude, that's not
yeah,
how it
that's
works.
not
and
how
then
it
I
works.
and then I had friends like I had
That's
a friend from high school that she told me like, oh, I already kissed guys just so they leave. Like the guy was such being like a bother to him, like to her the whole time. So it's like, okay, if I kiss you, you're gonna go away. And the guy like, yeah. And then, do you know how sad it is to hear that? Because like,
that's
it's crazy.
tragic. Well, do
Yeah,
you see why now we know why all this shit is happening because there
I understand when girls
there are
say
gold
men are
diggers and there
trash.
are creeps.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's gold diggers, there's creeps. There's trash women, there's trash men, all right? Most likely there's probably has been more trashy men coming out because to be quite frank, they were in power, right? A lot
yeah,
of these trashy men were in power. The League of Legends players, they're in positions of power because why? They have
they play a
notoriety in
video
the
game.
community, right?
Yeah,
They play a video game very well. They neck beer very well. They drink a lot of soda and they play a lot of
they have
they
the new
press Q a lot,
skins.
right? They press
Yeah,
Q. Yeah, oh yeah, they have skins. Oh yeah, that's how you get the girls.
yeah.
You have skins League of Legends. But that's I'm really glad I brought this to you because the way I look at it is as a person who's not directly in this single scene and dating scene, you can have insights on this that most of us when you're in the hamster wheel you don't see where the hamster wheel is going. It's going
Yeah.
nowhere, right? When you're observing the hamster wheel you're like, oh, this hamster is really loving running in place. Net
Hmm.
change of his position is zero, right? And you are kind of the observer of the hamster wheel known as dating right now. I want you to, as the person who is in this spot as an observer,
Hmm.
propose a reasonable solution from 2021 and onwards. How can men and women have better conversations where this extremism doesn't happen and develop out of control? I mean, it's going to happen,
Yeah.
in microscopic levels, but let's make sure it doesn't expand to where there's more people like me who almost jump on the bandwagon. I don't want too many people to jump on the bandwagon on something that they might have not really wanted.
Yeah, I think for me, like, we grew up having like this perfect relationship mindset, and it's like it should be perfect. It's never gonna be perfect, to be honest. Like, there's always gonna be something wrong, and you have to adapt, or you have to change, like break up, divorce. It depends. Like
Hmm.
for me, there's always like we have this open, like not open, like closed mind, having to have someone, and it's crazy because like when I was in high school, I was like so much like that. I need to have someone. I was in love with someone. I was like, I have to be with that person, and in the end, thank God, I didn't like I didn't nothing happened because I wouldn't be here today. Because like Aleni helped me move to Canada. Aleni helped me like do a lot of things, and I'm sure I help her as well. So I think there's always timing is always there. Like I know that when you go like you have a tough breakup, you feel like, oh, she was the one, he was the one. It's never gonna have.
Hmm.
It's never gonna
Uh-huh.
come back. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
You're
it's
talking to
not.
the right person about that. Uh-huh. Yeah.
And maybe that person was the one. Like I already had like fights with Fellini, and time showed like, yeah, it's better not to fight. It's better to stay together. And I don't think it's wrong like to go back to someone that you liked. Like, oh, the relationship failed. Maybe. But what about this situation? Like the scenario? What was the context? Like you guys were like working, you guys were like at school. Because I have a lot of like friends that used to date like people in high school, and after that you go to college and they don't never talk to these people anymore. And they're like, "Oh
And
my
they're
god, I'm supposed to
in high
marry
school, they're
her."
like, person. This is the one.
Yeah, it's
Oh
not.
my god.
And
So I
maybe
guess you're right.
yeah,
Yeah.
and maybe like 10 years after they get back together and it works out. Like I think
Yeah.
timing is something that I'm not gonna criticize because I spent like 3 years of my life obsessed with someone, and it's like timing was bad, and it showed me there was something more, something better coming after. So it's like I think it's horrible when you are like in that like zone, the waiting zone. But like when you get into the good zone, it's gonna get better. Like and I don't think like you have to have someone. Like I have a lot of friends. They have how do we say that? It's like when you have like multiple relationships, like you have open relationships, and they're happy.
You can say pathological dater. You can say that.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I think like 2021. Come on, I never used because I've been dating like for I'm engaged for a couple of years. I dated since like 2010, so I've been dating like 11 years already, and I don't even like
Congratulations.
Tinder. Tinder's the best thing, like so you can actually talk to people. Yeah, for me, like
Hold on.
right?
No.
No? Oh, I have no
This is
experience,
a
so I don't know.
topic for another day. No, you have no experience there. Don't say Tinder is the best. Because
Because you can
also
just say
that
like,
type of
"Hey,
dating is gone. This
you
is the problem.
wanna?" No. Okay,
I should have
next.
mentioned
You
this
wanna?
earlier, and this is failure on my part about the red pill community has a really good observation and have broke down Tinder to a science, which is why they're giving up on dating. But where I was getting is not let's not talk about methodology of dating
Okay.
because that's a different story. But I think the best point you made so far is exercise patience
Yeah.
because what happens one day it could be changed a whole different day. Your
Timing is
reference that
different.
this
Yeah.
guy was whoever is obsessed with whatever in high school doesn't even talk to the person afterwards, right? Like when you're in that hamster wheel, you think that hamster wheel is your world, but it's a long time. There's a lot of changes, and think about this social construct we have on online dating, this new paradigm we have of female empowerment, and then this men are trash, women are trash movement that's slowly emerging from this. This is all quite recent. That gives me optimism. Maybe what you're saying,
Yeah.
you took me off the hamster wheel for a second, is that maybe if we increase our scope to a couple more years, things
Yeah.
could change for the better. But in order to have that, individuals have to exercise patience, and individuals have to be the best version of themselves.
Yeah. And can it, for example, think about like what like media, like what is exposed to us. Like a lot of people, even like Leon and Nils, a lot of people say like Leon and Nils are like the best Brazilian couple like portrait. A lot of people want to be like them. But like, do you know what they've been through? Do you know like what happened to them? Do you know how they met? You don't know anything. So a lot of people say like, oh, for example, Disney. Is there any like princess that isn't? I think Elsa is the only one, right? Because if there's a princess, there's a
Yeah,
prince. Like why?
yeah. It
Right?
usually is.
Like
Yeah,
Elsa's by herself and she's fine, and she has ice power.
it
So
is fine.
screw you.
Yeah.
She's the
But
she's
people,
the
I
she's the
mean,
badass.
it comes from being honest with yourself, though, right? Like if Elsa actually wanted to have kids and have a husband, and she still wants to be Elsa at the same time, then she's lying to herself, right? But if she just wants happiness and she explores that, exercises patience, and being scientific about it, she's fine. From that perspective, she's perfect, right?
Yeah,
And she might be the best princess from that perspective. So hopefully that's what they were aiming to write, not this be in denial, because there's also people in denial. But I'm
but it's
really
part. I
glad I
think it's
ran
part of
this
the
by you.
process. Yeah, I think it's part of the
Yeah, it is.
process. For three
It
years, I
is.
was
It is a
like,
process.
dude, I like her. She doesn't like me. Like, why? Why? And it's like
Right.
because it's not meant to be. There's someone better, right?
Do you think that our generation is just soft when we don't have a lot of
Oh,
discipline either?
100%, like
Yeah.
100%. Because
We have
like,
all this access and we take it for granted, right?
and then people
So
use
we
for the
gotta go. We gotta
benefits.
go a little old school here, right?
Yeah, and like I think that's why I said Tinder's the best because you can be like open. Do you want to do this?
Yes,
You want to
but
talk? But like
yeah.
it goes back to the first thing you talked about. It's just like by an image. By the first picture, you
But there's
select
a
if you want to talk to
distribution
that
issue.
person.
There's a there's a distribution issue with Tinder that actually goes into discipline. So this is
Ooh,
why I didn't bring in Tim because people don't exercise discipline when they're on those websites like that,
it's gonna
right?
be a full topic.
Guys
Yeah,
swipe everybody. Girls just take their time, and then
selective.
girls
Yeah,
are very selective, right? And based on those kind of selection, only 10% get selected. And guess who is the lowest among that selection is Asian men and Black women.
yeah,
So again, right? Like there's different things that are unfair based on the social paradigm, and we can't solve those problems. Nobody really can. No one single person can. But if everybody do a little bit to be a bit more patient and a bit more disciplined and a bit more focused on who they are as individuals and honest with themselves, that might be the solution, and we might not see such an extremism become so prevalent. I got scared because there's so much content out there for this.
Yeah,
It's an
and I can imagine.
infinite rabbit hole. You jump in, you're like, it's not
Never
Alice in
coming out.
Wonderland. It's a bottomless pit. All right, there's no Wonderland at the bottom of it. You just keep falling, and it gets worse and worse and worse. And one day I stepped out. I was like, no, that's
Why?
not the way you want to
Yeah.
live life, right? It's a
Hmm.
conversation. I mean, yeah, you love women, you want a wife, you want kids, but it's just about making yourself better and being the best version of yourself so that you're ready to receive those things in your life.
And
And
I'm pretty sure,
I'm glad
like,
we had this conversation because you've given me some good insights about like how silly this looks from the perspective of somebody who isn't in it.
yeah. And do you know how silly it looks like for like a lot of people? I think like that. Oh, what is the goal of life? Find a job, like study, find a job, get married, have kids. And then people mock people that have kids out of marriage. Like, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
Don't throw stones from your glass house, young man.
yeah,
Right?
yeah. My
Yeah.
my point is like, for example, you mentioned like black women and Asian guys, right? Go back to Disney. How many Asian princesses we have? I think just Mulan. And like black
Oh yeah,
princess, we have
Mulan, but
just
that's
and Tiana, right? I think it's one for ones. And how many like European, like white, Caucasian? So I think we grow up to because
99%.
yeah, 99% for sure. Like it's crazy. I think like having access to information is good, but like you said, going extreme. And I understand the guy that is pissed with like an ex, so he goes like red pill for life. And I understand a girl that's like pissed with an ex and it goes like all guys suck. But if you're not part of the group, you will not feel like, oh no, I hate when guys go like not all guys. And if some, I said this once in Twitter. If a guy ever say this to you, I guarantee you, he's a piece of shit. He's part of those guys that are trash because if he's feeling affected, he is one of them. So like, run
Yeah.
away.
Or
Red flag.
he's just a sensitive little bitch that's
And
like
you
that's the
want to
way
be
I
there
look
too.
at it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
that's
yeah.
true,
There's
yeah,
people
that's
who
not
are
good.
sensitive. There's people who are just like, no, don't say things. Don't say many things about. No, like if it doesn't, you can ignore it if it doesn't matter to you, right?
Yeah.
And
And you don't
that's
want to be in a
and
relationship that you cannot say one thing. Can you imagine like you say
yeah,
something and they're like, Jeff, oh no, Jeff, that's a deal breaker. Like,
yeah. It's
it
like yeah,
shouldn't be like this.
it's a lot of people just like I feel like the more you've mentioned it, it's just a bunch of people screaming. But
Yeah.
again, you got to keep that focus. That's it.
And
Focus,
they
focus,
all
focus,
have
focus.
scars. And they all have
Yeah.
scars. And I understand, but like it's okay to project like, oh, someone hurt me. I think everybody's gonna hurt me. It's okay. It's part of life. You're feeling hurt. But you have to put yourself in the game again. Like I think going like, oh, I don't want to date anyone. If you're happy, you don't have to date anyone. But like marriage, no. Marriage is like that's for our parents. Like I'm super like, oh, why we do marriages, guy?
You don't
So we
believe
have
in
like a
marriage,
doc.
but you might do though. You're coming here with the nice old school flow.
Do
That's
you
what you're
know
doing.
that? Like even when we moved to Canada, I thought about marriage was something good to have because of like the immigration things. So if you're married, you can do like as a
Yeah.
family instead of like paying two charges, you pay just one. So it makes sense to get married. But nowadays, you don't even have to do that. Like common law agreements work as like something substantial that you can apply
I
as a
get it.
family.
You like the notion of like a marriage style
Yeah.
relationship,
Yeah, you can think that. Yeah.
but you are against the institution and the hazard and the accoutrements
Yeah.
surrounding marriage. That's
And
what
I'm
you're
not like
against.
I'm not
You're
like
against the sales industry of marriage.
yeah, I'm not like even like the religious part. I don't care to be honest cuz like I grew up in a
Yeah.
Catholic
No, but
but
that's
like
also been monetized.
why
That's what I'm saying. It's all
yeah,
sales. It's all
who
sales.
who
It's been
who is
monetized.
someone
If you have to
who's like go for it?
if you have to pay a priest to be a witness in front of God, first of all, your service of God should be only for the service of God. There should be no monetary means around it.
And God
If
is
you pay for
everywhere,
that
right?
priest, it's monetized.
Yeah.
Yeah, but God doesn't need a witness. God just be like, yeah, I see it.
You
Yeah,
want
I
to you
see
want to
that. I
marry?
made this shit
Good
happen.
job.
I know it. I planned this. All right. This is what I kind of agree with you there. Although some people are like, "Oh, you can get struck by lightning because you're questioning the church." No, you can question
Nah,
the
no.
church. You can't question God. There's a difference.
And you like, I hate people that also do that, like, oh, marriage is like, did you marry a virgin? Like nobody do that anymore. Like, come on. And
Yeah,
even like, I don't know,
no,
like
no,
I said,
nobody.
I'm not against church or anything, but like it's stupid. Why is like a church can tell me like, oh, you can only marry once? Maybe that time I went to meet that person. Maybe I can marry. Like, who are you? Like, it's my life. I don't know, man.
All right,
It's
yeah, you
insane.
make sense. You make sense there. That's good. I like that. I like that. This is why we had this conversation. Appreciate your wisdom. It's a really good perspective to have. And yeah, did you like the fact that I brought you in? Now you know a little bit about this, and a lot of things make sense.
Yeah, it does make sense, and I like I said, I'm not part of these guys groups like the Red Pill, but I understand why they exist.
No,
I
you're
think
literally.
like
This is why I like you because you're not in this. You're not in this shit. You're far away from it. You can observe it. Objective. Love it. Angels.
that was a good topic. We didn't plan to talk that long
Yeah.
about this, right?
Yeah, we did it. I guess that's the whole podcast. So this is well, we'll talk about
Yeah,
your newest session at a later date, maybe. That is also about societal survival in many ways, but
true.
we'll get into Rust and some of these games another time. But thank you so much, you guys, for listening to this. I hope that rant was helpful for some of you guys and girls too, right?
Yeah,
It's important to get from both sides, right? And yeah, just remember, it's important to focus on making the best version of yourself so you're ready to receive somebody. That should be where the energy is because there is somebody good out there for you no matter who you are, right? Just need
that's
to
it.
find them.
Like the
that's
best
not
sentence of the
that's
podcast
not
is
just
that
blue pill thinking. That's literally scientifically proven, right?
it's not
There
like
is
one side
somebody.
or other side. Yeah, you have to be your
Yeah.
best version every day, so the other person sees why they want to be with you. So that's
Yeah,
the best
yeah.
sentence of the podcast.
That applies to both men and women. Remember, no
Yeah,
one's a king or queen by themselves. Everyone is Alexander the Great. They have to build their legacy and they have to conquer.
you said Alexander. Have you ever watched Hamilton the musical? Sorry, just be.
That's Alexander Hamilton, not Alexander the Great.
I
Alexander the
know,
Great
but
is the
like,
is a Macedonian general who is a descendant of a relatively noble house. However, he wasn't destined to conquer most of the known world at the time.
you
Alexander
said
Hamilton that happened a couple thousand years later. But yeah, go on.
no, but you said Alexander. I almost thought Angelica because there's a
Oh
song
my
they go
god!
Alexander.
Right. Whenever someone sings Hamilton, we're ending the podcast. Thank you guys for watching. Click subscribe if
Before
you're new.
ending, one
Oh,
thing,
what do you do?
just like a fun fact. Remember last week we talked about CNN like sharing images to identify to help FBI identify the people from the Capitol.
Oh, this is a follow up on the last podcast. Okay, what's the follow up?
All
What
of
happened?
them were arrested.
Sent to jail. 100% jail.
Yeah.
Federal crime offense into jail. Jail.
So just one a fun fact for you guys. So Jeff, go for it. Do the outro.
All right. All right. Thank you guys for watching. Kisses to all of you. Subscribe if you're new. Tell your friends about the podcast. If you're still listening to this, if you listen to this point, you should tell your friends. You listen to the whole thing, right? Next time we'll probably intro and tell you guys to tell your friends before we even present the topic. We gave you a whole podcast. Now you should probably tell. I don't know how
True.
retention works. I don't know. Like there's like 3 people at this point in the podcast. Talking to all 3 of you. Okay. All 3.
So do it. If it's 3 now, make it 6 next week because they brought a
Yeah,
friend.
make it 6. Yeah, it brought a friend, and then make it 36, and then make it compounded every single time. All right.
Jeff Math.
Okay.
See ya.
Jeff Math.